you have given yourself this time to listen to this information. So whether you are here live or whether you are listening on catch up, I was just saying, multitasking, I totally understand. If you're able to sit with a pen and a piece of paper, this might be some really valuable time that you can spend actually investing in the learning that you need to do. We're all very good at investing in learning when we know we have to do it, like, for example, qualifications, diplomas, etc., etc. But when it comes to this stuff, we don't sometimes give it the space and time that it needs. So take the opportunity to do that. We're going to talk about this concept of life first businesses, and I'm going to talk about the 3 shifts that we need to make before we start out in business or with a side hustle. Maybe you might be wanting to develop a charity, whatever that might look like for you. And I'm just going to rattle through some of that. Some of you will have heard this before in different ways. Others will be hearing it for the first time. I find I have to remind myself of this stuff every 6 months. So if I need to do that, then everybody else needs to do that too. There will be a mention of Banoffee Pie because that is the best way of me describing the importance of this. And it's something that takes a while to sink in for people. And I have people on my program who I've worked with for 6 months, a year, and sometimes we get carried away with the stuff that we don't need to get carried away with, and we come back to this every single time. It will all start making sense. So what we're going to do is very quickly who I am. Most of you know that because you're here in some capacity from my world. We're going to mention what keeps medics and healthcare professionals stuck. And we're going to look at 3 shifts that simplify everything for you. We're going to talk about the Banoffee Pie Business Model. Going to look at some real life examples, and I'm going to explain with you how you can work with me in 2026. And I'd like to just record a little bit of me showing you behind the scenes of Clarity. Then I can answer any questions. I'm going to be here till 3 o'clock if you want me to be. So very, very quickly, I am a doctor who has, in the last 15, 16, and that now needs to say 16 years, done a lot of learning about different businesses. I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always wanted to do something outside medicine. When I was a GP partner with 2 young children going back to work after maternity leave, I'd already tried to do acupuncture and Botox. I'd already become an ALS instructor. I'd already done various things at the practice. And I was basically looking for something. I was like, what else can I do? I cannot do this on its own for the rest of my life. But that at the time was feeling like leaving medicine. I very much was feeling like I had to go. I had no other choice. And I wish I had had somebody like me to talk to at that time, or a program like what I offer, or some way of having these conversations with somebody that gets it. Because what happened after that, from 2010-ish, I embarked on a journey of learning about business and branding and sales and marketing from nothing. And I have had a product business with Bendy Legs Granola that grew and grew and grew and was absolutely incredible. But I made all the mistakes, wore all the hats, and learned a huge amount. I've had a bricks and mortar business with a holiday let business that we did all the marketing ourselves for. I've had an online business with my friend Polly. In COVID, we ran a digital membership for teenage girls, which came about from a sort of in-person project that we ran for girls going from year 6 to year 7. So we started in the way that I helped my clients start, but we very grew into the online space in COVID. And then the online space has given me the opportunity to learn so much. And I've now been asked back in 2022, I was being asked by other doctors how to do this. And now most of my working life is spent mentoring, coaching, and supporting other doctors that might want to start businesses. They might want to actually just run something out alongside their day job. They might have plans for a big sort of exit company. I help point people in the right direction and support them with the real life stuff that gets on top of you when you want to do something like this. And I also work part-time as a GP locum. I'm now doing two sessions a week while I'm in the country, and we travel an awful lot. 6 years ago, Joey didn't want to do medicine, and that's another story. But I am there still. I think there's a way of making this work for you, and this is this life first phenomenon. What's the life that you want to have, and how do we build something that fits around that? There's a picture of the kids there because travel's a huge part of our life. We traveled for a year. And that's when I had a lot of time to really reflect on what I wanted to do. So I did a lot of these exercises myself while I was traveling because I had the time and I gave it the time. So please, if you haven't done these exercises, please give it the time, because we all need to do that before we embark on writing a 12-week course or doing another diploma. We've got to work out what we're trying to do, okay? Because the reality is, as medics, that we have generally been on a fairly linear, fairly predictable path, usually since we've been about 14, 15. We have jumped through hoops, we've passed exams, we've been told we're ready to move on to the next thing, we've been given permission, we've had appraisals, we've been told we're good enough. And we have had everything externally validated before we've moved on to the next thing. We often collect qualifications. We have loads of diplomas, loads of qualifications. Oh, you can't see the slides. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How did that happen? Hang on. Oh my goodness. I'm glad I just looked in the chat box. You can't see the slides. Well, thank you for telling me that, because I would have cracked on regardless. Can you see that? Oh my goodness. Thanks for letting me know. Sorry. Hang on a second. Let me just go back. So that's the other. Can you see that slide? Has it moved? Okay, so that's what I was talking about. That'll put it in context. I won't dwell on that. You've heard me talk now. So we're looking at medics who have had this linear path, as I was talking about. We're often more than happy. We are hardworking. We are not afraid of hard work. Like, crikey, there aren't that many people that have done what we've done in our lives, and we are not afraid of that. So we're not afraid of getting diplomas and qualifications, and often we do these things wondering how we're going to actually put them out into the world. So we are good at getting qualifications. We've often got lots and lots of ideas. I'm having these within my clarity program that I'll tell you about. I do a one-to-one, and within that one-to-one, I get every single idea that is in your head about a what if, maybe, possibly, I could, I might. We get it all out of your head, and then we rebuild each of them into what it would actually look like. What that idea, if you were to pursue it, what that would look like for you, what that would look like for your family, what that would look like financially, what that would look like in terms of commitments. Because we have all of these ideas and you cannot do them all at the same time. You have to choose one thing to start with. And that feels uncomfortable because everyone's like, well, how do I know if it's the right thing? And you don't. And usually what you start off doing is not what you end up doing 10 years later. So my first business was a granola business, my first proper business. I'm not including Botox and acupuncture. My first proper business that I took to market was a breakfast cereal. And now I'm doing something completely different. So you've got to start somewhere. And I help you pick that apart. But that's the problems most medics have, is they've linear education, too many qualifications, too many ideas, not sure what to do first. And it all feels very hard and clunky and difficult. And we also have a bucket full of fears. Generally, there's a lot of fear of failure. There's a lot of fear of judgment about showing up on social media, about somebody that you worked with in 1985, seeing something you posted on Facebook. There's this issue with perfectionism, like, how can I go out there into the world if I haven't got a gorgeous website, or if I don't know what I'm doing? There's a lot of focus on me, like, how good am I to go out there and help these people? And those are the things that I see over and over and over again. And we will come back to those things. So what we're trying to do here is I'm trying to talk you through the three things that I think are differentiators between those people that we just talked about, where we've all been, lifelong medics, new qualifications, feeling stuck, lots of ideas. And we're trying to shift you into this other space where actually you're much more invested in your own personal growth. You have a different mindset. You have an experimental mindset, which we'll come to in a minute. You are sort of invested in your own personal growth and business growth. And actually, I say this a lot, but growing a business or a project or a side hustle, whatever you want to call it, people don't sometimes recognize they're running a business. Sometimes they say, well, I'm just opening a private clinic. I'm like, well, yeah, that is running a business. Or I'm just training to be a coach. That's running a business. So all of these things, whatever your qualification, if you're taking it into the world independently of the NHS and you're not being paid a wage, that is some sort of business transaction. So The biggest thing I think is that this is all about your personal growth. And once you get your head around the fact that there's a lot of mindset work to do around running your business, it's not actually about, how many people's diabetes you reverse, or, whether or not you've come up with a mindfulness course that is good for menopausal women or whatever. It's about how much you're happy to invest your own energy and time into growing individually as a person. Okay. So personal development, business growth, you want to have your next step plans, and you want to be running a profitable business. You want a business that is working for you and your family. Oh my goodness, I'm going backwards now. Can we still see the slides? Phew. So the first thing that differentiates people that make this work and people that don't is that they have some concept as to why they are doing this. Now, when I started making granola back in 2010, I didn't for 1 minute consider why I was doing it. Not for 1 minute. I had this product, I had this idea, there was a gap in the market. This stuff was being eaten in Canada. People were going out for breakfast. People here weren't, unless they were having a bacon sandwich. It wasn't on menus in cafes. Now it's normal, right? But 15 years ago, it wasn't. There was a gap in the market. I had a product and I just went for it. And I didn't consider my why at all, which actually ended up getting me into a business that was not compatible with my life, with children. So when you look at your why, I think there are push factors and pull factors. And I'm very, 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 very clear when I speak to people. Running a business is not a sticking plaster or some sort of, solution for burnout in the NHS. Because all that happens is you go literally from the frying pan into the fire. You can't be running away from something to start a business mentally. I think if you're on the verge of burnout, you're feeling, absolutely exhausted, you are wanting to get away from medicine as quickly as possible. Those are not great ways of going into something. Like, what we need to do is recognize that business is also hard. Marketing your services, going out there as an individual, trying to create income for your family is also hard. In some, arguably harder, because actually to run your business, you need to show up at 100% all the time, really. I mean, obviously you don't, that's not possible all the time. But when you work for somebody else, you can kind of go into work and be pretty average, and you're probably still going to be better than most people when you go to work. So, being really mindful of those reasons. Is this about building, a more flexible life around your home life, your working life? Is this about, your own personal needs? Like, I found, certainly when I went back after 2 children into my part-time partnership, 2-day-a-week partnership, I think retrospectively, there was a lot of me that was thinking, well, hang on a minute, I'm only 34. I'm not going to have any more kids, because I thought at that point, having had my second, who was like a terrorist, I was like never going to have any more children ever again. Obviously, I forgot after 4 years and then had another one. But, I was like, 2 kids, going back to work. I don't want to do this forever. Like, is this it? Is this what I'm going to do for 30 years? Like, drive to this surgery, sit on this chair and do 2 days a week? No, probably not. So do I want to do 3 days or 4 days? No, definitely not. So therefore, I have to find something that's going to fill my time. Let's make granola. That's a really good idea. So, there was a point where this was actually about me looking at my future and knowing that I wanted to do something else other than general practice. And that's a lot of the case when I talk to people. And of course, there are loads of things that you could do. First of all, we could happily have a day off. That would be okay. Secondly, there are hobbies that you can have. And thirdly, there are other things, like it might be about writing. Like, you might want to write a book. You might want to, create a course that's completely like about how to learn the guitar or something. Like, there might be something going on in your head that is totally different to medicine. And it's almost giving you permission to do that as well. Like, it doesn't have to be a monetizable business transaction. But if it is, you've got to be clear why. Okay. So this is something that I did a lot of when we were traveling, because basically what we did is I left my partnership, started a granola business, wore all the hats, it was an absolute, like, it wasn't a disaster. It was amazing. But when I had a phone call from Amazon wanting to stock as much of it as they possibly could, because I'd done the PR right and I'd got into Olive magazine, I realized there was no distribution. There was no how I was going to make this stuff for them. I was just making it in the kitchen in the evenings every day in my family kitchen. So we couldn't even use the oven. Like it was just not aligned to having children. And actually, what I'd wanted was a business that was aligned to travel and adventure and excitement and being with my family. And I'd created a monster essentially. So when you're looking at your why, and when we were traveling for that year, it became very apparent to me that actually what I really wanted was to be able to work from wherever we were in the world on the end of my computer, because I wanted travel to become a bigger part of our lives. We took a whole year and we've subsequently taken 3 months off every year to be somewhere else. And I want to be able to continue working when I'm there. So is this about working in isolation? Is it about working as a team? Is this about travel? Is this about being able to pick the kids up from school, at the beginning and the end of the day? So what is it about your current life that is missing, that is wanting you to do this thing? So that push and pull factors, and you can just start even just having this awareness of what it is. Is it frustration? Because working for yourself on the end of a computer from wherever you are in the world is amazing. Most of the time I'm in Swansea, which is lovely, and I get to go for nice walks. But actually, if I didn't have my day job, I'd really miss being part of a team, working with the nurses, like having a bit of banter, having a nice hot cup of tea with an adult in the middle of the day. So there's a lot to be said for the good aspects of our work that I think we have to recognize when we're going into this other world, that we can easily look at it and think that the grass is greener. So why are you doing this? The big thing for me when we were traveling that I was able to really get to the bottom of that is that I wanted to be around for my kids. I want to be able to take them to school, pick them up from school, have holidays with them in the holiday time, never fight for holidays with my partners at GP land. And I want to be able to travel with them. And actually, though, that was what it was all about. And I'd created a business that required me to be in Swansea in a factory, employing 16 people in hairnets and negotiating with massive supermarkets. Like that was not aligned with my values, but I didn't know what they were because I'd never been on a call like this and I'd never, ever done any of this work. So knowing your values makes it all clear. And when in that time traveling, that's what I did. So these are the kind of questions I ask myself. There's loads of ways of doing this. And those of you that have done coaching qualifications will know all of this and you'll know how to do this with your clients. But, what do you really care about? What are you about? Why do you want this slightly different lens on your life now? What is it about? Is it because you've gone back to work after maternity leave? Is it because the kids have left home? Is it because, we all have, the frustrations in the NHS are, obviously ridiculous. We're not going to be able to solve all of those ourselves. And I've now taken a very different sort of approach to going to work. I'm kind of like, well, I'll go in and I'll do my clinic and I'll do as well as I can and I'll do the best job I can. And those people will have benefited from coming to see me for 10 minutes. And that's all I can do. I can't actually change much else. So I actually now really enjoy my job because I've put a different lens on it and I've stopped trying to fix everything. And I've just started to help the patients in the best way that I possibly can. So these are some questions you can ask yourself. Welcome to anyone that's just come in. It's so nice to see so many of you on the call today. So this is one of the life first things. Like when you're building your business, what do you want your day to look like? Your month to look like? Your year to look like? Simple. For example, I have now built a business whereby I don't start any Zoom calls until 11 o'clock. The reason for that is not because I don't get out of bed. It's so that I can do the breakfast run. I can take my child to college 25 minutes ago if he misses the bus, like he did this morning. And it doesn't have a massive impact. I can do some deep work if I want to. If I want to go to the gym, if I want to go for a walk, if I want to go paddleboarding and it's a beautiful day, I have that flexibility in my day. Like that's something I would have dreamt of. But that's how I've built this business now. I don't do one-to-one calls before 11, and then I finish at 3. So this call will finish at 3, and my computer will go off, and anything else that I do will just be ad hoc. And then I've got one call at 8 o'clock. So once a month, I do an 8 o'clock call. So what do I want my day to look like? How do I want that to fit into my month? I actually do 3 kind of content-heavy weeks in a month. And then I have a week in the month, normally at the end, where it's less content heavy. And that tends to fit in with half terms. So that works well for me. Ideally, I don't want to work when the kids are off on holiday. Now, that might sound really entitled, but I'm asking you to be brave and to actually be like really think about what you would want that to look like. Because if you are building a business, you need to build a business around your life and not the other way around. Otherwise, it will take over. So another way of looking at it is just literally looking at the day, the month, and the year that you want to have. So we've looked at your why, what that's about. The next thing that we need to look at is your mindset. Now the shift between a medical mindset and an entrepreneurial mindset is huge. There are lots of transferable skills, 100%, but we need to know where we're going. We need to have put something in the sat nav. We need to be thinking, right, okay, what I want is to build a business that looks a little bit like this. What I'm looking for is, an exit strategy and a buyout in 5 years is one way, or what I'm looking at is something that fits around my teenagers. My co-founder, her vision of running a business was that she doesn't want her children to ever have to have a front door key. She wants to be there for them. And why shouldn't we? Like, you can be a business owner, a doctor, and a great parent. That all of that is possible. So you need to have a plan as to where you're going. And as an entrepreneur, you need to know what your next step is. You're not supposed to have the whole thing mapped out. It's not like becoming a consultant where you take those steps. You just need to know the next step and the next step, and you're going in a direction, and that direction might change, but you've just got to know the first and next thing to do, okay? You've also got to be brave enough to be really shit at something, and medics are terrible at this. We like to be really good at everything we do. We don't necessarily want to be winging it, especially, we're doing quite important stuff. People's lives are at risk. So we can't wing it and make it up and, I'll give them a little bit of this. And I think I heard that might have worked once. We don't do that. Whereas when we're entrepreneurs, we've just got to give it a go. Like on Friday, I was like, I really should do a webinar. I looked at my diary. I had a free slot on Monday and I thought, well, I'll just show up even if nobody comes. And that's totally fine. Like, that's just what I've got to do. I had a client yesterday who was sending her first newsletter and she wanted me to check that it was good enough. And I said, honestly, your first newsletters, your first Instagram posts, your first LinkedIn posts, your first webinars, your first anything are going to be a bit rubbish. And if you're training for a marathon, you've got to get off the couch first. It's that sort of concept. So we've got to know where we're going, take the first steps, and we've got to be brave enough to be a bit rubbish and not to have a massive crisis of confidence around being a bit rubbish, because we've started, and that's not rubbish. That's bloody brilliant. So being brave to suck at something new. The third mindset thing is this experimental concept. Okay, this concept of not really knowing whether something is going to work. And I say work in inverted commas, or be a success. We don't know until we've had endless conversations with people that might want whatever we are thinking about in our heads. What if we might have a product or a course or an idea. We need to basically test the market before we put too much time, effort, and money into developing it any further. So we have to have this kind of like, what's the quickest, easiest way I can get this out in some form to get some feedback to see whether anybody would actually want it, and to get somebody to pay even a small amount for something that you've done, to give you that momentum to keep going. So I'm very much of that. The way that I suggest that people grow their businesses, or medics grow their businesses, literally one by one by one by one by one, because generally medics are not people that want to go out there and become influencers online and then create a product to serve their audience. They're much more comfortable showing up in a sort of slower, more progressive fashion. There are exceptions to that, and there are a couple of brilliant doctors out there on YouTube and Instagram. who are then now providing services to their audience. But usually it's about experimenting, getting out there and growing your audience one by one. The third thing that I do bang on about again, and everybody gets a bit stuck with this, is you've got to know who you're helping. You've got to know there's no point worrying about what you're posting on Instagram. It's just going in the ether and nobody is looking at it because everybody is so busy and distracted. So that's dismal information for you to receive if you've just spent the morning worrying about a LinkedIn reel. We've got to work out who you're helping, and then we need to communicate with them. So those little pieces there, you've got to choose your piece, your Monopoly piece, your Cluedo piece, or whatever it is. And this is this concept of niching. I know people are going to be switching off now because you're going to be like, oh my God, if someone tells me to nail my niche or choose my niche, I'm going to go mad. But it's quite simple. When you are in surgery, you will see anyone with anything at any time. Doesn't matter what's wrong with them. You're not going to turn them away. They could be anybody. And we see, in one surgery, you'll see, palliative 101-year-old who needs some pain relief. You'll see a toddler who's having a seizure, a menopausal woman who's just tried to commit suicide, a high functioning executive with high stress and a high blood pressure needing to reverse that, reduce their cholesterol, all in an hour sometimes. I mean, that's ridiculous what you're capable of doing. It's amazing. And that approach, especially if you've trained and done lifestyle medicine or coaching or functional medicine, like this help is really needed. People need this support, and everybody will benefit from a lot of this stuff that you're going out there wanting to help people with. But you cannot have the same blanket approach, because you have a full waiting room of people that are coming to see you with all of these different complaints. When you run a business, that is not how it happens. You have an empty waiting room, and you need to get people into that waiting room who want your services and are happy to pay for them. That is entirely different, okay? So we need to learn who we're speaking to first. We don't have to just speak to those people forever, but this is part of getting you out there, is like, who are the first group of people I'm going to help? And I think this analogy, that if you've been to one of my talks before, I hope you will understand this, because when I have this conversation with people, they sometimes say to me, well, I'm just going to start helping people online first, as if that's an easy option. Now, from a kind of expenses point of view, helping somebody online is great. There are not many barriers there. You're not going to have massive overheads. You're going to have various things, sort of monthly things you're going to need to pay for, but you're not going to have to rent a room and get a secretary, whatever. But this concept is really important. So if you've qualified in lifestyle medicine, you've done your lifestyle medicine diploma, maybe you've done a coaching diploma as well, and you want to go out there and help people. If you live in the Highlands of Scotland or in Orkney or something, and you've got an in-person business in Orkney, then essentially you need to open your doors and you need to help anyone with anything, because basically you've got a limited population. Most of your marketing is going to be word of mouth, village shop, free sessions in the school, going into businesses, being on the radio, being the kind of go-to speaker at all of the Women's Institute events or whatever. Your marketing is going to be local, and your geographical area that you're going to cover is small. So essentially you can open a fairly generic lifestyle medicine clinic up in Orkney, because you can see lots of different people with lots of different things, because you haven't got the numbers. If you were then to decide to move to London and you wanted to do an in-person clinic in London, you would very quickly realize that the same approach is not going to work in London, because you have millions of people who are happy to travel and who are used to having choice. Like, they can decide which 24-hour takeaway to have on their street, or they can get a train to the next one. So the same applies for you as a business. Now, if I'm an expert in menopause, then I'm going to stand out against somebody that is not claiming to be an expert. And if I am somebody that wants help as a menopausal woman in the lifestyle space, I want to go to an expert. I want to go to somebody that is telling me that they are an expert in this area. They've helped other people in this area. They have testimonials and proof that they have supported other people. And I will choose, if I live in London, to travel maybe an hour's radius. So you haven't just got London, you've got the outer London area. So your marketing needs to be totally different. And people are going to be more discerning about who they see. Okay. Now, if you take that and put that online, you're suddenly, you are in not competition, but that the same person has got the opportunity to see anybody anywhere in the world. So if there is a specialist in the particular area, maybe I'm a menopausal woman with rheumatoid arthritis who wants to completely transform her diet, doesn't want to be on any meds. She wants to know the best, nutritional stuff to eat to help her, rheumatoid arthritis and menopause, for example. If I find that there's somebody in the northern Japan that specializes in this and has a 6-week course and a coaching program, I'll go with them over anybody in London and over anybody else online. So when you're helping online, you have to be even more specific than you do when you're in person, which people don't really get. And what I mean by that is your marketing needs to speak to a certain type of person who has a certain type of problem. If you're being recommended word of mouth, of course, you can help anyone with anything. Somebody comes along and they've got a completely different problem, you can help them too. But you're not outwardly marketing yourself as helping anyone with anything. You are choosing your first group of people to help. And you need to do that in the online space, even more importantly than in person, I feel. And when you do go out there into the world and you are, talking about what you do and putting yourself out there, because the uncomfortable truth is if you don't, no one else will. So you've got to do this yourself. If as you are doing that, you want to stand out, like what is it about you that makes you different? And this is all really the stuff that people struggle with, but it's like you don't want to blend in. You don't want to be the white ships. You want to be the red. You want to be there and you want to be showing up and you want to be seen and you want to be different. You want to be like finding your own take and your angle and not just copying what somebody else is doing. Okay. So the reason I talk about Banoffee pie, and I will have time for questions, I promise, is because these 3 Banoffee pies are all very, very different, but they are all Banoffee pies. Okay. They are all the same pudding, but they are all different. Now I would choose number 2, I think. Don't know why. It looks like a good all-round Banoffee pie. Some people might choose 1, some people might choose 3. And that's all based on the look of it and what's on top of it, usually, as opposed to the rest of it. But I'll get back here. I'm sorry, too quick. But what we've got in a Banoffee pie is we've got a proper good biscuit base. We've got a good, solid, delicious biscuit base. And it's also on a board. I haven't got the board on here, but imagine a board. Then you've got the biscuit base. Then you've got your caramel. Then you've got your banana. Then you've got your cream. And then you've got your sprinkles. If we don't have a good solid board, a really tasty biscuit base, a lovely caramel, and a lovely banana, then we're going to have a shit Banoffee pie, whatever it looks like from the outside. Okay. So from a business point of view, your plate is in 4 sections. This is a little add-on, is in 4 sections: time, people, place, and money. Those are the 4 things you need to really, really establish before you start. And those I talk about in the free download that you might have got. You can get it from the podcast. I've done an episode of the podcast about this as well. So you've got to have time. You've got to know what people you need to have around you. Your business needs a sense of place and you need some money to start with. That's your plate. Then your biscuit base. That's your why. And we'll come to that now and I'll give you the rest of the analogy. I couldn't work out how to do these clever ones where they add it all in. So you've got your biscuit base. That is your why. You need to know that first. Then your yummy caramel is that delicious like mindset that we talked about, knowing the next step, being brave, being experimental. And then your bananas, also essential in a Banoffee pie, is your who you help and how you help them. Okay. And think of it as your niche, or if you can't bear the idea of feeling like you're being boxed in, why don't you see it as like a campaign or an offering at a particular time to a particular group of people? And then your cream is like establishing that authority, getting out there and becoming like facing your own fears and judgments and becoming an authority in what it is that you talk about. Okay. So your why, your mindset, your niche, and your authority. That is your Banoffee pie. And then we've got these question marks on the top. So these question marks are the things, oh, sorry, I'm going backwards again. These are the things that everybody gets themselves totally wound up about. People say to me, well, is this a 6 week or a 12 week program? And, how many modules do I need to have? And, is my logo the right color purple? And what about this font? And how many pages does my website need? And I've built an app already. And I'm like, okay, stop, everybody stop. There's stuff that you need to do first, but this is the glossy stuff. This is the stuff that we can spend weeks and weeks and weeks creating in a dark room before we get out there and test it. And that's what I really want to try and help you avoid doing. So all of those sparkly, shiny bits on top, it doesn't really matter. Like we've all got to get to know our audience. We've all got to get in front of the people we want to help. And you might have what you think is the perfect answer and solution for a problem. But unless you get in front of people and talk to them about it, you are going to go down a rabbit hole. And I was just sending a voice note to one of my clients about this because we wrote a curriculum for the How People, which was the online business in COVID. We wrote a curriculum for schools without having, I think we had one conversation with one head teacher who was somebody I knew through somebody else. We essentially wrote what really needs to be a year 6 curriculum from beginning to end, nutrition, sleep, movement, entrepreneurship, diversity, social media, friendship, everything, like a 12-part program. And we did not do our market research because everybody loved what we did. They loved our assemblies. They loved the way that we showed up. They loved everything about it, but they didn't want a 12-week course. What they actually wanted was to go really deep on the social media and the friendship thing, particularly for girls. And actually, a lot of the work that we'd done was completely redundant. They only wanted a small part of it. Now, if we'd gone in and had those difficult conversations and been really upfront with people and said, right, we're looking for 6 schools to experiment on. We're going to run this as a course. Here's some practice assemblies. Which sessions are going down well? Which sessions don't you need? We would have saved ourselves an awful lot of work and also an awful lot of heartache when things didn't sell as quickly as we wanted them to. So you're kind of like, your future self will thank you for doing this work. Just a couple of quick examples. Olga is somebody that I've worked with over the last couple of years. She had a very generic lifestyle medicine website initially. She had all the things and she had no clients coming through. So when we worked together, we became really clear on her why, and we niched down to menopause and people that were going through cancer treatment, which was her area of interest. And she got out there and she started collaborating with people, doing local workshops, and getting that sort of traction locally, and then becoming a guest speaker on podcasts and showing up as an authority in that space. And she's gone on leaps and bounds since then. Portia Gibson, again, she runs a business called Post-Op Nurse. She had already tried it. She'd already put it out there. She had a logo, a website. She'd had a couple of patients, but no traction at all. And eventually we drilled down to what she was doing and why she was wanting to do it. And we really niched down to just hips, people post hip replacement. And that little bit of niching, even though she could help anyone post-op, got her the traction that she needed and the expertise within the private sectors, within the areas where she was working, really gave her the traction and built those relationships with orthopedic surgeons. And now she's doing all sorts of people again, but she's gone from being wide to super niche to wide again, which often happens. But she was very experimental in her mindset. She was happy to take things on. She was very coachable. She listened. So these, the why, the niche, and the mindset, that's what I'm trying to illustrate here. Sarah Lou Wiley, again, she was a more generic women's coach at the beginning and was struggling to get clients, and we worked out why she was doing it, we niched down, and we helped her with her mindset. So these are the 3 things that I'm seeing again and again in those doctors that are really nailing it out there in the online space. So I said I was going to quickly tell you how you can work with me, and then I am going to answer questions. So if you just wanted to get to this point and get a few tips, then those are the 3 takeaways, okay? Your why, your niche, and your mindset. Those are the 3 things you have to do it. I'm going to mention the live first bit again in a second. I'm just going to tell you how it works to work with me for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to answer any questions, okay? So if you want to go, totally fine. Feel free to. If you want to stick around, I'm going to be here. So this is how I work. I have a program, which is currently called the Startup Support Program. I might change the name a little bit in the new year, but it's essentially an accelerator or an incubator with me in your life for 6 months, it will be 6 months from January, because a year is feeling like a long time for people. I think it takes between 6 months and a year, but I'm going to try the 6 month mark. But essentially, the startup support program is this: we take you from feeling powerless through a plan. We take you into this world where you find your people. We then really drill down on your digital presence and what that looks like. And at the end of the course, and at the end of the time working with me, you will have taken those steps towards being a purposeful clinical entrepreneur. You will have grown your personal mindset. You will have grown your business. You will have your next step plans. Hopefully, you will have your first 5 paying clients, ideally, at the end of this program. So that's the main program that I talk about, the main accelerator and the main incubator. And I used to bring people straight into that. But over the last year, I have brought people into a smaller program called the Clarity Starter Kit, which is a 30-day program. And I've done that for a year now. So I've had 35 people go through this Clarity Starter Kit. And about 50% of those people are coming into the main program. But for 50% of them, what they're realizing at the end of that 30 days is actually, there are other ways that I want to take my life. This isn't necessarily the right time. I actually would like to go and change the way that I work or my partnership instead. I would actually like to pursue one of these hobbies instead. And you're able to make an active decision as to whether or not you want to continue with this or not. Now, that is so valuable, because actually what you get in that 30 days is you feel heard, you feel understood, you realize there's a whole load of people around you that feel the same way. And those people support you and nurture you and help you. And then at the end of 30 days, you make that decision. And I know then that the people in the main program, in the accelerator or whatever we're going to call it, those people are actually ready to take action and go. And then we help you with all sorts of things, including if you want help with your website and logo, we can do that. I help you sort of with your email lists and building, how you're going to get out there in the world and find people. And I do that through content, coaching, and community. So the Clarity Starter Kit sits just here in this program. Hang on a minute. I'm going back to Sarah Lou. So that's where the Clarity Starter Kit sits. And this, I think, is where this Life First blueprint comes in, because over the last 3 months, everybody that I've spoken to within the Clarity Starter Kit, when we've gone into our one-to-ones, we've kind of worked in a very different way. You think building a business is all going to be about, profit and loss and spreadsheets, and it does need to be, but actually what I look at is like, what are we trying to achieve here? What are we doing here? What does this really look like for you? And the way that I now plan my life is that I look at my diary, and my kids' needs go in first. So school holidays, various productions or events or whatever they're doing go in the diary first. And then you might put your holidays in there, or if you know you're going to be having weekends away with friends and family. You populate your life with the important things first. Then I do things like in-person events. If I'm going to do conferences, or if I'm going to run events, they will go in the diary then. And then I will start looking at my online time. And like I mentioned before, like, I don't want to start on Zoom at 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock. I need to fit other things in there. First of all, you can't possibly have one-to-one clients 6 hours back to back. Like, how do you actually then do the write-ups, the recordings? I do a full sort of 30-day and 90-day plan now at the end of my one-to-ones that I have with Clarity. So I have to factor those in. So actually, really, your hours of your day are not all billable hours. And by that, I mean, Maureen pays you £100 for an hour of your time. You're not going to have 6 Maureens in a day and then go and do the school run. So how your billable hours are just those hours that somebody's paying you. So what about your hours for marketing and sales? What about your hours for writing new content? What about your hours for posting on social media? Like, where does all that come from? So we've got to look at our online time and then our billable hours. And what does it look like for you? Like I have always used pockets of time. So if I'm waiting outside, hockey or whatever, I will use those pockets of time to work on my business. But increasingly, I'm trying to do less when I've got the children and more in the school hours. And I'm trying to be much more boundaried with that than I was. So, you don't want to be sitting on your computer all weekend, every evening and through the holidays running your business. But when you start out, that is what it looks like. So just being mindful of what you're moving towards and saying, okay, I know I'm going to have to put the hard yards in. I know I'm going to have to make sacrifices. I know this isn't going to be easy, but ultimately I want to build a business that looks like this for my family, whatever that looks like for you. So that is the end of information giving. I'm going to stop sharing and answer questions. So please put some questions in the chat box if you have any. This is the QR code for the Clarity Starter Kit, and I am now taking bookings for January. So there's bookings for January and there's a waiting list for February and March. And we're going to kick off on the 5th of January. I think it's the perfect balance of hands off and hands on. You have me supporting you. You have me to ask, you can ask me questions. I'm in a WhatsApp group with you, just whoever comes in each month. And that is the case for 30 days. I message on a Monday, I message on a Friday. Occasionally I message midweek if I get overexcited. And we have a one-to-one that generally blows people's minds. I then have a full written summary that I do for you, and we do a 30 and a 90-day plan. If we've had conversations, say, for example, we've started drilling into business names, I might actually extrapolate that and start giving you some ideas, and I put it all in a Google Drive. So you get a huge amount of value from me. You also then come into a community with other people starting that month. And then you are invited to all of the calls that I run in the main program. So you can come to the Q&A call and ask questions. You can come and watch the hot seat calls and see me coaching other people live. You can come to the masterclass. You can come to all of those things and get to see what this is all about before you decide whether you want to come in or not. Okay. You also then see other people doing amazing things. There are some incredible inspirational doctors always coming into my world, and I love sharing stories with everybody, and everybody supports each other. It really is a pretty special place, to be honest. And that's it. These are the people that I like working with the most. Honestly, like, you've got to dream big. You've got to have lofty ambitions and be able to take those risks and move towards these lofty goals. But you've also got to know how to have fun with it and not take it too seriously, because it's not easy. And you've got to take action. You can't just sit in your ivory tower saying that you're going to do it next month when you've got a bit more time. If you've had ideas spinning around your head and you have yet to do anything with them, then honestly, the best thing you can do is take that action, do clarity, get it all out of your head. Let me help you rebuild it and see whether it's what you want to do. Okay. Right. Here endeth. 10 minutes. Let's go. I'd love to have some questions if anybody's still awake. Helen, you're the only one with your camera on, so I'll give you a wave. But hello to anybody else and everybody else. Let me just have a look. I want to see if there's anything in the chat box. Great motivation, clarity. Looking forward to getting more involved. Fabulous. Have to collect the kids now. There you go. That is life first for you right there. Cool. Anybody got any questions? Feel free to stick your hand up, or I'll just sit here and wait to be grilled. Go on, be brave. Helen?
Just a quick question. So I'm just in the sort of starting process of this and just wondering about that stepping out and doing a small bit and trying something, and what very much wanting to go down that route, but then also having a slight worry with my rules-based mindset of breaking some laws or rules about having to register a company and all that sort of thing. Is
Yeah.
there anything obvious that we should think about at the very beginning so we don't fall foul of any legislation?
What sort of thing are you thinking about doing?
It's sort of a coaching type business that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, okay. And have you had any paying clients yet at all?
Only people that I have finished doing some training with and have then moved into doing a little bit of more paid work with.
Great. And they've paid you directly through PayPal or whatever, or an invoice or
Yeah, they
something?
just paid me directly to bank account at the minute because
Yeah,
that's what all I've done. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. And I think this is one of the very common questions that keeps people stuck. I think the coaching space is a lot clearer than the lifestyle medicine space. I think are
Okay.
you a doctor?
Yeah, I'm a GP. Yeah.
So within the lifestyle medicine space, it's certainly generally much more important that
Mhm.
we have things like CQC become a problem very
Mm.
quickly,
Mm.
particularly if you're marketing yourself as a doctor. The reason people are coming to see you is because you're a doctor, and then you are doing things like deprescribing or trying to get people's blood pressure down and diabetes, etc. But with coaching, it's a lot easier to actually be a bit experimental. And really, all you need is insurance,
Yeah.
a diary, some way of somebody paying you, and be able to explain to somebody why they might want to have your help. And I think you can be really experimental. And actually, those practice hours that you do with coaching qualifications gives you the opportunity to be
Mm.
experimental. But beyond that, as long as you're insured, then you can just crack on.
Great.
So, I've got a get scrappy checklist, which is sometimes goes out on my email, but I'll
Yes, I've
see.
seen that, and that's what slightly worried me because on there was something about making sure you've registered your business and things, and I was thinking, oh, I'm not quite ready to do that yet, and
No, no, no. So
make
you
that
don't need to be
commitment.
a limited company. You can start off as a sole trader. If you've got, are you a GP locum at the moment, or
I'm a locum, yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
So you can take the money that you're getting from your coaching business. You can do on the same thing as your
Hmm.
GP work. So you don't have to register unless you've got a limited company. And if you've got a
Right.
limited company, then your accountant needs to know, but you don't need a limited company straight away. So,
Mhm.
you need to decide, right, am I going to run a coaching business? If I am, how am I going to get that out there in the world? How are people going to find me? And what sort of people am I going to coach? So there's lots of coaches out there. There's lots of people doing coaching. There's lots of people who've been doing coaching for years. They all have their certain areas of people that they like to support. So I would just, if I'm going out there, I would be looking for certain types of people to support. Okay.
Yeah, great, thank
Um,
you. That's really helpful.
okay, no problem at all. But yeah, don't be frightened of that list. It's, that really the beginning of it is exactly what you need. Okay. Right. Anyone else? I've got Liz here. Does anyone else want to ask anything? I'll just read Liz's out because I'm sure a couple of others might feel the same way. I've already started a business, but need help with getting out there and marketing. Wonder where I am best to go. If I started working with you, I'm a typical medic who freezes at the thought of having to market myself. Totally get it. Absolutely. And everybody does. Um, you know, I don't really know many people who relish the idea of marketing themselves, like very, very few. Um, but we have to put ourselves out there because no one else is going to. If you don't want to get yourself out there, you need to work for somebody else. So marketing is a skill, it is a practice. There are lots of different ways of doing it, and I think you've got to find where you're comfortable. I am a massive believer in building an email list and communicating with an email list. I guess most of you are on my email list because I didn't do much marketing outside of that for this thing. But I'd send an email every Friday, and I have done for nearly 2 years now, 18 months. I don't do a YouTube channel, but I do put some of my podcasts on YouTube. But there's got to be some way of people finding you. There's lots of schools of thought, but essentially what some of the guys, some of the Daniel Priestleys of the world are saying, you need that 11 touch points now. It used to be 7, I think, and now it's like 11 times somebody needs to have seen you or heard about you to even bother looking at your longer form content. But once they found you on social media, if they're going to find you on social media, then they need to be able to sort of binge watch and see what you're about and really understand who you are before they're going to agree to work with you. Now, that process can take an awfully long time. So I have a different approach to marketing, which is that actually the reality is your first 5 or 10 clients that are going to come and pay you money are going to be through word of mouth to some degree. And because you're doctors, you have a wide network anyway, and you have this trust factor because you're a medic. So you will probably be better off if you're not somebody that is super excited about posting on social media and doing a YouTube channel, then get out there and work out who you want to help and go and find them through 1 or 2 degrees of separation. We've all got our life is on WhatsApp feeds. If we're clear about who we're trying to find, then we can go onto WhatsApp feeds and we can try and find those people. But if you just say, I've got some free coaching hours, then everyone's going to just ignore it because there's too much noise in their WhatsApp feed. The client I was chatting to earlier, she's coaching parents of teenage girls with scoliosis who are at a certain point on their scoliosis journey that I'm not even sure what it's called, but really specific. Now, if she puts that on her WhatsApp feed, like I know somebody with scoliosis, so I've already put her in touch with her. Now, I don't know anyone who's got this particular problem, but this other lady might know. And I've said to her, would it be okay if my client had a chat with you? And that might open a whole load of doors. So you've actually got to be proactive in approaching people. If you don't want to go on social media and sort of twerk and point on reels, that's totally fine. You might notice I don't do that either. But you've got to find some way of getting the word out there, whether it's speaking at events, whether it's organizing events, whether it's actually asking people to help you. People want to help you. And word of mouth is still the best form of marketing, which is good news. Okay. Carolyn. Hi, Rachel. Thank you for that. Hi, Natalia. Oh, Carolyn. Oh, I can't hear you. Just waving frantically at Natalia. Carolyn, I just asked you to come off mute there. There you go. Can you do that? Oh, are you on a phone? Nobody could ever find the mute button on a phone. It's there somewhere. You'll find it in a minute. We'll see if Carolyn can find her button. I'm just going to put the link to Clarity in the chat box as well. Okay, while Carolyn is looking for her mute button, I will just check that I haven't missed anything. Liz, I will try and send you an email about that. Sometimes just having a power hour, if you don't feel ready to join a group, you can have a power hour, but you do get a lot more value if you just come into Clarity. That's the best way of working with me, to be honest. Right. I don't think, oh, she's gone now. She disappeared. Right. Well, we will call it. Oh no, she's there. I'm determined to speak to you. So if you are wanting to go, because it's 3:00, I'm always to time. Thank you very much for joining me. If you want to wait and see what Carolyn has to say, then you are more than welcome to stick around. Thank you for coming. Come on, Carolyn, you've got this. Oh no, hang on, where is she? She's darting around now. Maybe put it in the chat box. Oh no, you're on
Hello.
twice. Oh, right. Fabulous.
I'm so sorry. My phone, hang on.
Hey.
Let me get rid of this. I'm so sorry, everybody. My phone wouldn't allow me to unmute because of privacy.
Absolutely fine. Don't worry at all. What can I do to help?
Thank you. Thank you, Jo. Sorry, everybody. That was all so helpful. So I'm a locum GP and I've done my coaching training with the Coach Business School, Andy Ramage, and I was about to go on and do a marketing sort of course there. And now I'm sort of thinking, actually, maybe this Clarity Starter thing might be better for me. I loved being with these coaching people and just being with lots of different people generally, but I'm starting to think, would I be better in a sort of with other doctors? I think I didn't like having that thought. And I thought I should go and be with all different people. We don't all need to be doctors. I need to get out of the mold. But now I'm sort of thinking, actually, we are quite niche as doctors and with specific needs. And, we're not good at some stuff, but you have got a lot to offer and we're not very good at saying what we're good at, sort of thing. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you think I should come and do this instead? It's a hard question. Obviously, you're going to go.
No. I mean, what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you, or I will actually, if you look at the starter kit thing that I've just put in the chat box, you'll see a little video from a lady called Lynette Ewart. Now, Lynette is huge on Instagram. She's a medic who's been teaching people how to weight lift for ages. Now, she did a generic coaching, marketing, generic sort of marketing, build your business accelerator thing. And she has very kindly, without me asking her, done a little video as to why she thinks this is better. Now, I would just say to you that I think it's really important to recognize that medics have blocks and issues around mindset that are quite unique, I think. And I think to be around people that have overcome those things, I think if you're sitting in an echo chamber of everybody going, oh, this is really hard, you're right, this is really hard, then that's not very helpful. But what you want to see is that progression. And I see people that come in and within a few months, they are, their confidence is lifted, they've shown up in a different way, they've been inspired by other people going before them. And I think when you see that other doctors out there in the arena are doing that, it can give you that confidence. So, I obviously I would tell you to come to work with me because I think that's the right thing to do. And not because I'm a horrible, slimy salesperson, but because I've done all of this learning over all of these years, and I've basically brought it together into something that I know works. And I feel really comfortable in telling you that I don't think you're going to miss out by coming. And I think you're probably going to have a bit more personalized direction from somebody that really understands what's going on in your head. That's all I would say. Whereas actually a lot of coaching programs and marketing programs that I've done can be quite generic, and you can get a bit lost. You do have quite a lot of me in this as well. So I think that probably helps. But if you want to give it a go, I've got there's a session on tonight. If you want to give it a try, you're more than welcome to come.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Well, thank you. That's so helpful. And thank you for waiting for the question.
No problem at all. That's absolutely fine. And if you need any more information, if you've got the link there, I've put the link there.
I'm having a look.
So have a look at that. And there's a few videos there that might just help sort of firm that in your mind. And there's a couple of really good podcasts. I did a podcast with somebody called Lisa Bean, who is a business coach. That might be worth you looking at as well, just to give you some sort of unbiased opinion that isn't just me telling you that you should come to work with me, because that would be a slightly biased, but
so it's in the chat, is it?
I've put it in the chat, the Clarity Starter Kit. If you click on the chat and click it, it should go straight to a page with some videos on it.
Okay, thank you. I didn't think I've got it because I joined on a different device, but don't worry,
okay.
I will find it.
I'll try and get it out to you anyway.
Right.
Have you got your email list? Yeah, you are.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. And then if you are not sure, look at episode 37 of the podcast as well. I think you'd find that really helpful.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Ari, sorry if I've said that wrong.
Can you hear me, Jo?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Sorry, yeah, it's Ari.
Hi, Ari.
Thank you for your time today. Just very quickly, I run a men's health sort of TRT, sort of menopause clinic, which is half face-to-face and half online. At the minute, we do have paying patients. It is a startup. In terms of marketing, I've done a little bit of everything. So I've done some flyers. We do Google, we do SEO. I make some YouTube videos as well. It was just, should I continue to experiment at this stage and find something that sticks? Or do I need to sort of knuckle down and focus on one thing, such as Google or YouTube content?
Yeah, it's difficult as well, especially if you've got two different groups, right? Because the Google ads will be hopefully bringing people into the in-person clinic.
The majority of the in-person clinic has been from Google Business Profile and just ranking high in leads for TRT.
Yeah. Okay. What about the YouTube numbers? How's that going?
I have 160 subscribers. I just get a couple hundred views per video, and I've only had 2 patients who've seen me on YouTube so far.
What do you like doing?
Written stuff. I don't enjoy the YouTube, but I'm just doing it as another channel.
You don't enjoy it, you do?
I don't enjoy it. So we have a newsletter, which I use for the patients we have currently, or anyone who's ever made an inquiry. I quite enjoy doing the newsletter. Yeah.
I think it's really difficult to know when's the right time to go all in with something. If you're not enjoying YouTube, then is that the right thing to go all in on? I think building an email list is really, really important. Google ads for your in-person, flyers and talks, and going to those local private health clinics and collaborating with people. That's always the best thing locally. And then, you know, I think having a way of constant communication. So we talk about marketing in terms of like two things. One is farming and one is hunting. Okay. So this concept that really, when you're looking for clients, you're looking to fill clinic spots. Say you looked at January and you didn't have many people booked in and you wanted to go out there and offer appointments to people, you'd be actively trying to promote those empty spaces by you know, posting regularly or by reaching out to people that could put adverts in various places for you. That would be your sort of hunting to get people to fill the slots. And then your farming is really what you're doing on a regular basis. So sending a newsletter every 2 weeks, putting a YouTube video out there every week, you know, writing something, you know, where would that long form content potentially go? You know, could you be writing a column in a men's magazine, or, you know, having a bit more of a presence exactly where your clients are? So that's what I would be focusing on, is like, who are they and where are they reading this stuff? And essentially maybe reducing some of the kind of noise that's out there. And things like flyers are brilliant if they're in the right place, barbers, you know, places where men go, but otherwise, you know, they can often cost an awful lot of money and not be seen by the right people, can't they?
Yes, yeah.
So there's no right answer, I'm afraid, to that, but you've got to do something you enjoy to be able to do the farming. Like, I really enjoy writing. That's why I've chosen to do that. And I'm loving doing the podcast. And, you know, you might prefer talking and doing podcasting rather than YouTubing. But I think one of the long form content, so either some sort of newsletter or written content, people, you know, certainly, I don't know about the men's world, but there's quite a lot of people writing on Substack at the moment. I don't know whether that's something that your audience would even be there. Podcasting, YouTubing, writing a book, something that gives you that key person of influence status when people have found you. If you send me, can you let me know the name of the business so I can have a quick look?
Yeah, it's called Men's Medical Clinic Leeds.
Men's Medical Clinic Leeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, have you paid for a marketing person?
I haven't, we had no funds to start this. Everything's been bootstrapped.
Yeah.
We spent a couple of grand on the CQC registration, and everything else has just been spare change.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to do that. And you know, I think at some point you've got to take that next step. Now that you're all set up, it's like, right, okay, how do I get out there? Who do I collaborate with? Who do I reach out to? How, you know, who's got my audience, and how can I work with them so that it can work for both parties? That often works really, really well, particularly in a locality. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all. Right, I need to shoot off in a life first school run kind of way. But if you've enjoyed listening to this, I promise I will do some more. And if anyone is interested in clarity, please get in touch. And January, it will come around very soon, and you will have made an active move into 2026. So I look forward to seeing you soon, and I will do another one of these the other side of the new year. Take care. Bye.